This episode is brought to you by StartingStrongman.com. Go to StartingStrongman.com for everything strongman. Go to store.StartingStrongman.com for all of your training needs, such as tacky, wrist wraps, knee sleeves, elbow sleeves, ebooks like the Cube Method, Shaw Strength by 4-time World's Strongest Man Brian Shaw, etc. Go to StartingStrongman.com/sponsors and support all our sponsors, which help put out great content on StartingStrongman.com and Strong Talk Podcast. You can click through the links to Rogue, Amazon, etc., and we get a small commission for anything you buy. So if you go to Amazon.StartingStrongman.com, instead of just going straight to Amazon, we get a couple pennies on the dollar for all of your needs. This episode features Brian Alsruhe. Brian is 2 times Maryland's strongest man and this will be a couple days before he competes at nationals. He is a middleweight strongman competitor, really strong guy, really knowledgeable. He has a great YouTube channel. It's Brian Alsruhe on YouTube or neversate.com, neversate, and that's never, S-A-T-E, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Just tons of great videos on how you can get stronger, and he has a unique approach to training and a pretty unique background as well, which I found interesting, and really looking forward to having Brian on again after this one, because I don't think we covered half of what we could talk about, and apparently what we can't talk about either. So without further ado, let's listen to Strong Talk Podcast, episode 50, I think, with Brian Alsruhe. Welcome to Strong Talk Podcast. I am Kalle Beck, joined by Mike Battolino of Chrono Strength. Today we're going to be talking to Brian Alsruhe of neversate.com in a little bit, but right now I just want to catch up with my buddy Mike. How are you doing, Mike?
I am doing fantastic.
Yeah?
Not too sore today. I had a great training session yesterday, so no complaints.
You are training for a contest.
Yes, I'm actually training for the first time I'm ever going to do anything besides heavyweight open, so an actual weight class, which is unusual for me.
So you're not competing. You're scared of competing with the big boys again.
Yes, I'm not going to do the ProAm because even if I was a little bit heavier, I think it's still a bit out of my league.
And this is a good topic to cover because so you're saying it's okay to skip out on a class if it's not quite where you're at yet. So if you qualify for nationals and you probably are going to 0 for the 5 events, you can think, that's cool. Maybe I'll do it next year.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Platinum Pluses that go on throughout the year, most of them are within kind of a pretty tight range percentage-wise of, how heavy all the events are. But in general, the LA Fit Expo is kind of seems, besides the Arnold, seems like the heaviest Platinum Plus. And then, Brian Barrett and Bill Kazmaier want to put on this Kazmaier show, which is kind of we didn't really know about it until a couple months ago, but it's right up there with, both the LA Fit Expo and the Arnold. I mean, it's really heavy. I mean, it's a 900 plus yoke, 350 log, 215 or 220 power center, big top circus dumbbell. So it's a really heavy competition. Yeah. And yeah, right off the bat, the 350 log, I mean, I would 0 it. I don't even know that I could clean that. So, and I would 0 the dumbbell, I'd 0 the log, the yoke would be really heavy. Probably wouldn't do great on that. And then even the freaking medley, man. I'd like to say the medley is a 350 stone of steel 3 times, 330 or 350 stone of steel, and then a reasonably heavy keg. But I don't know. I think it's gonna be really tough for some of the guys. Although Martins is gonna be there, so I definitely can't wait for Martins to crush everything and then yell Martins after every event.
Yeah, and I look forward to interviewing him because I know all the things are too heavy for me, and I'm too fat to compete in my actual weight class. So I get to go down there, and Starting Strongman YouTube channel is going to be live streaming the event free. So now, instead of people bitching that they don't like that they couldn't get it to load on Flow Elite or something, they get a bitch that they
The free live stream doesn't work.
Yeah, they're like, what? There's only one camera, and then Kale's not even paying attention. I'm like, yeah, that's what's gonna happen. So, you can also subscribe at youtube.com/c/startingstrongman, which that's gonna take place. What is it? December 2nd?
Is it the second or third?
Whatever the Saturday is.
I think it's the third.
Yeah. I think it's the third because I fly in the second, get back the fourth.
And it filled up pretty quickly. They filled up, I think 70 amateur slots, and then I think they're still willing to take some pros if some pros want to come.
Sure. Yeah, and why that one is heavier than, say, some of the other Platinum Pluses and, the LA Fit Expo is that they are not Platinum Pluses, they are a ProAm.
Sure.
Which is a little different, which means you get to compete with the pros. I talked in last week's a couple of weeks ago podcast with Nick Best about the ProAm setup, and that's how he got his pro card. That was the whole setup. There was none of this Platinum Plus thing, and I really like that setup compared to the Platinum Plus.
Well, your point was if you want to hang with these guys, well, you literally have to do it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So if you think you're ready, well, here's what to expect.
Yeah, that along with it's not the easiest thing in the world to find shows to compete in once you get a pro card. Like I see a lot of the guys, they get their pro card, then they're like kind of like lost. They'll message me and be like, "What do I do now?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I never did it."
Yeah.
So that's an easy way. Like as you're just sometimes you just want to compete, even if it's not a ton of money. Like with all the Platinum Pluses around, there's going to be there's probably going to be one somewhat reasonable for you to travel to. So I really like that setup, and hopefully these kind of continue. Now there's LA, which is a ProAm, and this Kaz Classic takes off, which Brian puts on good shows. Plus you have the name recognition of Kaz. Plus who doesn't want a dinner with Kaz?
Yeah, dude. I think it'll keep going. I think it will.
Yeah. I think that'll, and plus SBD and everything backing it as well, it'll be good. Plus, I'm gonna be there, so how is it not gonna be a success?
Actually, that was the last thing. I was like, well, Kale's going. I'm gonna go ahead and compete as a 265. Good to go. Let's do it.
And I look forward to seeing everyone there, and it'll be fun. Really gonna try to get that interview with Bill Kazmaier. I haven't told him this yet, but that was one of the main things on why when Brian asked me if I want to come, I'm like, yeah, I'll go. Thinking I'm gonna get this interview here with Mr. Kaz. I think that'd be a great podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just I got to message Brian about that and bought a whole bunch of recording gear to make that happen, so he can do like in-field, interviews a little easier. Don't have to lug the whole laptop around, all that technical stuff. So if anyone wants to help support that, they can use the Amazon links. Really helps, the affiliate link. You just go to amazon.startingstrongman.com and you buy whatever weird shit you want or normal.
Now let's focus on that for a moment. You said whatever weird stuff you'd like. I mean, do you mean to say that people aren't just purchasing like Ray-Ban shorts or gloves or anything, or tacky off Amazon? Are people purchasing other things?
The majority of the stuff is like tacky towels are popular with everyone training for nationals right now. Spider tack, Ray-Ban pants, etc. A weightlifting belt. Then you'll see some people. How it works is it shows me what is bought because it figures that's what I want to then advertise on my website if a lot of people are buying that.
Yes.
I just want to make it very clear. It does not show me who bought what.
Yes, that is an important disclaimer. You do not know who purchased it.
Yes, I do not know if Justin Paul is the person that is buying all this weird, because every month there'll be like one weird item. I saw on the same day I looked and it said that someone had bought a halter crop, like a small leather halter crop whip kind of thing, and also a gag, like it was like a mask, so it's like a gag.
Yeah.
But it didn't have like a ball like the GIMP or something. It had a small size dildo facing towards their mouth.
So it was like some 50 Shades of Grey stuff.
But the cover around the mouth on the outside was shaped like a heart.
I mean, is this an event we don't know about coming up? I mean, is there a competition? I don't know. It was different.
It didn't say Mike Bartow's ball gag, so I don't think it's going to be at nationals or any Platinum Plus shows.
Okay, very good.
It wasn't something he designed, so it's not going to be included. But what I was surprised is I don't like that's creative. I don't even know how first you search for that. And what I was also surprised by is that it was only like $16.95. Like it's a true bargain.
Now, was it? Were they able to get it through Prime? Was it an Amazon Prime thing?
I think it did ship through Prime. So
fair enough.
$16.95 Prime shipping. If I don't have the link for it, this was last month, but if you want that, I will. How you can support this podcast? If you buy something like that, I get like 80 cents. So,
speaking of crazy stuff that Mike Pardos makes, did you see his PR deadlift platform that he made?
I like that thing.
It's pretty sweet, dude.
It's like it's a conjugate method, like participants like wet dream. Like
really, yeah.
I think that there's good uses for it. Obviously, I like that it has the little thing where you can like put your calves up against it, like what they've called a Russian deadlift.
Right.
Since Koklayev came to seminars and told everyone that they don't have any hamstrings in America, which is true. I like that part, and I like that the bands can attach from the front and all this stuff, but it's just like you could PR technically like every week using the PR deadlift platform, and that's probably why it's called it, because you can just make variation after variation. You're like, I moved up one slot, I moved down 2 slots, and just you make it so it's the first time you're ever doing that movement, and just keep PRing.
He is I don't know if you follow him. I'm sure you follow him on social media. Well, you've got a lot of stuff going on social media, but he pulls a hell of a lot of volume.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a volume monster with the deadlift. So I think he's doing a powerlifting meet. I'll have to ask him that when we go down to the Cas. And since I decided to freaking buy the Big Top Circus dumbbell after the show.
God, is this podcast sponsored by Power Center?
Dude, and I haven't gotten the yoke yet. I bought the yoke after, I got the yoke after the August competition, but the stipulation was my buddy is gonna drive it to Texas for me, but he doesn't know when he's coming to Texas, so it could be like 3 to 5 months before I have this beautiful yoke, and it's just kind of sitting there waiting for me, waiting to come back to Texas from Florida. But my buddy sent me a picture last week and showed me that it was safe during the hurricane, so I appreciated that.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that as well. But yeah, and that yoke. My thing with the yoke is I'm too short and it's too wide.
It is pretty freaking wide, yeah.
But speaking of people, we need to talk to Mr. Brian.
Yes.
Let's give him a call and add him to this fabulous conversation.
Brian from neversay.com. All right.
And talking about YouTube and stuff, this is a good segue, because he's like he's like the new rising star in the YouTube sphere of like the next like Alan Thrall kind of guy, where they actually have successful YouTube channels.
And there are only a hand. I'll subscribe to people from time to time and watch them for a while, but not a lot of these guys have a lot of staying power like sure. Alan does, or like you do. But Brian seems like, yeah. Oh, come on. I enjoy the the Q&As cool. And the difference between the push jerk. What was it? The push press, the jerk, and the strict press. God, that you put up the other day.
How I made that one's actually, people are actually watching it, which is always surprises me on my YouTube channel. But why is because I put verse. So that automatically everyone's like, ooh, who's gonna win? And then I disappoint them with the, saying that they're all good and you shouldn't neglect one or the other, like that whole common sense thing. But all right, we're gonna give Brian a call and hopefully he answers. I always get nervous.
If he doesn't, we'll just go for 45 minutes of silence.
Yeah. Let's see. Calling find Mr. Brian. But yeah, just cracked 4,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Hi-yo! And aren't you about to hit a new 1,000 mark on...
Hey, Brian, it's Kalle and Mike here. You're on the Strong Talk podcast, and we're recording live right now.
Right on. What's going on, fellas?
We're going to get right into it.
How are you?
We're just talking
I'm
about...
doing great.
We're just talking about YouTube. It's weird. I don't know what brought that subject on, but...
Yeah, strange.
Yeah, we're just saying that you're like the new hot chick in like the YouTube sphere of like everyone's like, ooh, have you seen Brian Alsruhe of neverstate.com?
I need to wear less clothes, man.
It is like when I first started my new YouTube channel, I was like, if I don't wear a shirt when I do Q&A, people are gonna want to listen because like, look at those traps, you know. But it's funny that
the truth, man.
It kind of does work that way.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
And now I'm just like, okay, keeping the shirt on because then people are not gonna want to listen to what I have to say if I don't.
Dude, I saw you just broke 4,000. That's pretty awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, that's what we were just talking about. Yeah, that nice slow, steady climb. There's this weird thing Mike and I were just talking about is that with YouTube, what seems to really work is like actually to like keep doing it.
Yeah.
So like being consistent and you know, like that seems to actually like work well. Like since I've been making sure to put like a Q&A out every Friday and like a training clip out every Monday and a podcast out every Tuesday, the subscribers, you keep getting more when people, you have to kind of stay in people's, you got to stay in front of them. Or else
How long are those videos taking you to edit, Brian? How long do they take to edit?
On average, a video takes me about 4 to 5 hours to edit.
Wow. Because you do all that,
So,
you do the black and white and the, it's good, dude. It is really enjoyable to watch.
You want to ask
Dude,
me?
half of the reason for that is because I can't say a complete sentence without screwing it up. So I have to have cuts. You know what I mean? Like I'll watch Kalle or somebody like just hit record and talk for like 5 minutes. Man, if I did that, I'd be a mess. It would look terrible.
Well, here's the difference. I am a mess, and I just put it out there. Like
But your hair is not a mess, so that's
no. So it distracts them. But yeah,
Dude.
I know if I took the time to edit it like that, I'd never do it. So that's probably also why you have double the YouTube subscribers I do, because it's not like da-da-da-da-da and me rambling, but what are you going to do?
Dude, I tell you what though, I had no idea it would be this much work when I got involved with it. Like I always thought like, oh man, what a great thing. You could go and just put out videos and eventually you'll get people and then you can make money doing it. And then I started doing it and I have so much more respect for everyone who does it because it's so much work, so much setup, work behind the scenes, editing, all of it. It just takes twice as long as I thought. And I thought, you make videos and you make some money, but you don't make money on YouTube. At least not the level I'm at or the level you're at. You know what I mean? You need to get pretty big before you're even making anything, really.
Alan might be at this point. I don't know. He's got hundreds of thousands of subscribers, so I don't know.
Right. Yeah, you have to.
That's true.
I think you need to get some, and even then, like for the amount of work that's put in, I'm sure that he's like it still has that sentiment that you're not making money.
Well, we watched, when we went out to Untamed Strength, when Kalle and I were out there a few months ago. I mean, Kalle, you watched him you did that Continental Clean video together, and that alone, you did all those angles. He's like, oh, I want to get this shot in here, and then it took him a week or two to edit it all.
Yeah.
A lot of.
He's the man, and
it's a lot.
I didn't really do anything, and he's like, you can put 2 of these on your channel. I'm like, that's really nice of you, but I didn't really do any of the work. And he's like,
dude, there might not be a nicer guy in the social media realm in our sport in strongman than Alan Thrall. I mean, I got on his channel because I had made a comment. He asked for questions for Q&A, and I asked how he got essentially how he built his YouTube audience. And he confused me with somebody else that almost killed themselves on a 315 bench. And when he mentioned it, I was like, I have absolutely no clue what video you're talking about. And then he direct messaged me and was like, dude, I messed it up, but I checked out your stuff. I like it. Would you like to do like a collaboration? So that's how I got involved with him. But he didn't ask for anything. Like he didn't owe me anything, and he just reached out and wanted to help. So I can't give that guy enough props, man.
No, Alan at Untamed Strength's awesome. How I met him is he, I'm the state chair for Northern California, and he's putting on a contest, and this is like, and he talked about that in his, like how the gym got built, and I had to go up there and I talked to him. I hadn't really heard of him or done anything before with him, and then he, like a couple weeks after that, he's like, man, like I need to get some people up here to teach some of my members, like their form looks sloppy on the event. So he had, Robert Oberst and myself go up there to do a seminar. He helped it out, and he helped promote it. It was it was fun. We had a good time, and like I was looking at, he's like, do you mind if I film some of this for my YouTube? And I look, and he's like, I'm like, yeah. And then you look, and he has like 6,000 subscribers. And I'm like, wait, what? Like that's not bad. Like that's doing pretty good. Especially 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So then. I was like, oh, this guy's got it together. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to go up there and he's going to put that. Then my YouTube channel is going to get a bunch of subscribers. But that didn't happen because I don't put out good information like you do, Brian. So
you put out good information, man. Come on.
And he's just nice. And what ended up happening, we actually scheduled another seminar a couple months later at a gym. And there was some issues in the same area. And then long story short, like that gym, we had people signed up, people paid money, and then the gym's like, oh, well, we're not going to be open that day now. Can you do it the next week? And I'm like, fuck, I'll take all this stuff up in my truck and, do it in a parking lot. These people paid money. Like that's, I don't want to do that. I actually ended up refunding them half of what they signed up for. Made no money, drove up to Sacramento, but I was like, Alan, like the day before, I'm like, do you mind if we do it at Untamed Strength? And he's like, yeah, no problem. And that's when he had the small gym. Like it was small. But yeah, can't say enough good things about that guy. He's actually promoting another contest if anyone's in the, I don't know if it's announced yet or not, but it's going to be in January up in Sacramento if anyone's around that wants to go do that, and I'll be up there as well. So I'll tie it together. But
that'd be all. I wish I was on your guys' side of the country.
Not until you got to pay the rent.
Seriously, yeah, you're 100% true on that. But I am planning on going out there after like Nationals and Maryland Strongest and God willing the Arnold, hopefully. Then I plan on flying out there, and I was gonna stop by like his place, try to get something together with you, try to get with a couple people that I'm friends with online, but I've never actually like hung out with in real life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. Yeah, anytime you're welcome.
Yeah.
I don't have a full gym. It's just in my garage and stuff. But I got a spare bedroom with a Tempur-Pedic bed. So
yeah,
that's a good.
Hey, that's better than I have. That's awesome.
How's that bed, Mike?
It's not bad. Not a bad bed. It was very comfortable. Are there less spiders in the new place? I'm just asking.
Yeah. I'm not.
Wait a second.
I'm not in the country.
Wait a second.
Dude, I woke up in the morning, like the day of the competition, and I looked around and I was like, dude, there are way too many spiders compared to when I went to sleep. There's no way I didn't eat at least one or two of these. And I had to kill them all before my wife woke up. I was like, nope, no spiders. Haven't seen any.
Yeah.
So,
not a thing.
Brian, you're like 2 weeks out from Nationals right now, right?
Yes, I am.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling strong. I am feeling strong. I'm feeling heavy. So this will be the biggest and strongest I've ever come into a contest, which is awesome. But it's also a negative because it's the biggest and strongest I've ever come to a contest. So the cut is harder than it's ever been.
So how much of a cut are we talking about?
I'm at 244 right now, and I've been cutting for about 12 weeks. I'm pretty lean. Like I'm probably max, probably 10% body fat right now. So I don't have a ton of body fat to lose. So it's mainly going to be water, that's always a kick in the nuts.
And what did you start this cut at 12 weeks ago?
Probably like 250, 255.
Okay. And you talked about doing you're doing like a pretty aggressive water cut towards the end, or
Yeah.
Like a
I'll
water
do like a
cut?
full water gorge. Yep.
Yeah.
I'll do that and cut it out. My problem is that I have a wedding that I have to go to the weekend before Nationals.
Sure.
So I'm going to be at a wedding and drinking like my own distilled water and not eating food, and it's going to be interesting.
I think you do them all a favor by just not going. If they understood, no offense, I'm sure you're great company, and I just invited you to my house, but I know how I am when I've done cuts like that before, and they might be like, no, just come, it'll be fine. They don't know what they're asking.
Dude, we for Nationals 2 years ago, the one where you were actually working like in the judging booth, the one out in Reno.
Yeah.
So for that one, I was it was my second show ever, and which going to Nationals for your second show was a poor choice. I shouldn't have done that. But I was in deep water cut and got on the plane in Baltimore, and we taxied out onto the like active runway, and a thunderstorm hit, and we sat on an active runway for 4 hours on Southwest. When I hadn't had water for like 24 hours, I was miserable. But you look back on those things and it becomes an awesome story. It doesn't, like at the time, it seems like this is terrible, what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. But then all that type of adversity, you always kind of look back more fondly on adversity than if things go smoothly, you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I agree. My best memory from that was driving up to which I've learned since, like now that I actually like travel like for business, not just to go compete in strongman. I go, I'm not like, so basically like I can get a cheaper flight from San Francisco, but it's like an extra hour. I don't do that anymore. But yeah. So I was driving up to San Francisco, stuck in traffic, like, and I had to pee like the whole time. You know how that is. Like once you, and I ended up like I just pulled over like gridlock traffic, San Francisco on the 101 highway, and just pissed on the side of the road right there. Like, and then once you do it, like I'm still stuck in traffic. I'm not really going anywhere. Then I get like another 20 minutes down the road. I'm like, fuck it, just doing it again. Like who cares? But,
you're like, everyone's seen what I got anyway.
Yeah.
We'll go with it.
So like that's just, it's just miserable. Or the year before that one, like the water cut after I got back from China that was hell. So
I bet.
Yeah, because compete in China the week before and they just feed you and they drink. I've talked about that plenty of times, but I got back.
Yeah.
You have like your stomach's upset. That was a good time. But you look back and it's fun. I enjoy the fact of like having to cut water leading up to a competition, because it gives you something else to focus on. Like
1,000%.
Like
I agree 1,000%.
If it's just all part of it, and then you're not just stressing about the show. Like shows where I haven't cut, I'm almost less disciplined because I'm like, screw it, I'll go stop here, get a burger, get this, because you're just not even like you're not. But when you're like starving yourself and you're focused and all you can think of is like, I'm gonna weigh in at 8 a.m. I'm gonna be there in line. Like it's just everything's very methodical because you have no choice because you're suffering. So
yeah, it's like an extra event. You know what I mean? Like that's the event you need to pass so you can play.
Sure.
And that's huge. Like my nerves, if the cut is easy and I don't really need to worry about it, I think about the event too much and I roll it around in my head and I do stupid things. But if I have to focus on the weight cut, like right now, I'm not even thinking about competition because I know I don't play if I don't make weight. So all my focus is on making weight right now. So the competition I'm not even nervous about. I will now, granted, when you get there and you start moving around, and especially when they're like, Kalle on deck, like the nerves are insane. For me at least, they are.
Yeah, especially that first event.
Are you pretty much done?
Absolutely.
I mean, how much more training do you have until Nationals? How much longer are you gonna go for?
I will train probably most of this upcoming week, and then that'll be it. then it'll be 100% focused on weight cut. Hopefully, when you stop lifting for a couple of days, I usually drop a pound or two. I'm hoping that happens, so that's less water. But
do you have any
that's a big hope.
any heavy lifting left, or have you pretty much gotten as strong as as you think you're gonna get, or hit the numbers you wanted to hit? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I actually, the hay's in the barn. There's no doubt. Like, the hay's there. That I will do completely fine, and by completely fine, I mean not look like a fool. I will be completely fine if I don't screw something up. Like, so like last year on farmer's walks, I was doing great until I tripped and fell on my face, and then I was doing less great. So if I don't do something like that, then the weights aren't a problem. This is a light nationals anyway, but the weights aren't a problem. I feel like my technique is better than it has been. At this point, it's just, and I feel strong for this far into the cut. I hit a 635 pulse squat 2 days ago.
Nice.
So that's probably that, and really I wasn't even supposed to hit that, but it's not close to a PR. But it gave me that peace of mind that the strength is still there, even though the weight's not there, the calories aren't there. You know what I mean? So really, it's mainly going to be technique this week at like moderate weight, and then it'll just kind of cut out.
I know you say you hate the dumbbell, but for someone who says they hate the dumbbell and sucks at it, they look solid. You know, the reps I saw you do.
They look solid to an extent. Like, you look at some of the guys who are like the pressers. Like, you know, when you go to like a big event and there's certain people who are just pressers. Like, first name that pops into my head is Jake Reynolds from West Virginia. That dude looks like a piston. Like, I don't understand how he can do what he do. He's an awesome guy, super nice guy, and I wish that I possessed his pressing power. But those guys are just absolutely surgical. And unless I hit on top of my game, like, those guys are just, they're on a different level than I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Usually.
And one of the reasons. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's like, and usually it's also one event. It can be two, but it's weird where the people that are pressers then, you know, because they are built like a piston, sometimes usually tend not to be the best yoke walk, etc. But it's hard to make up that ground.
Yeah.
So let's get into something else, and I wonder how Kalle feels about this. You know, I know a lot of people. I mean, Kalle has trained with a bunch of people. I've trained with a bunch of people, and you know, you meet the people that are just kind of like strong, but they don't want to do this stuff that's less fun. Okay, so you know, let's say like
I saw your personalness.
Kalle and I have talked about Medleys, you know, and you know, that's one thing where, you know, when I went to that the Platinum Plus in August, I talked to a bunch of people that are like, yeah, I really didn't train the medley at all, and I'm just thinking like why? Like, why would you not do that? And then I look at the way you train, and you're like, all right, well, I'm going to do a heavy bench followed by a heavy row, and then a bunch of abs, and then take 30 seconds rest. And I'm like, dude, most people don't train like that. I know a lot of people that, you know, they'll do a heavy yoke, and they'll be like, you know, 10, 15 minutes later, they're like, I better do another one. And they're damn good, but they're missing that final piece. I don't know. Kalle, what do you think?
Yeah, strongman is a lot more than one rep maxes, and I get very frustrated all the time when people talk about strongman training like it's powerlifting, which it's not. Powerlifting is very simple. It's you want how much can you squat, bench, and deadlift for one repetition. Strongman is very varied, which is why I compare it more so to like something like CrossFit, because you have to be good in all these different disciplines. And you know, not only if like I don't care if you can press something for one rep, but if your clean technique's bad, it's going to take more energy. Where so the stronger person could end up getting less reps than the person who has an efficient movement. It came up in my memory a YouTube Q&A I did, which I looked, and it had like 180 total views, which shows like how little emphasis people put on this kind of stuff. But I called it like efficiency of movement. People don't look at like all the little things, like how to set up your kegs, how to run in between them, Are you going to go to the left or the right of the yoke when you have to go around it, etc.? How are you moving in between stones in a series? Like if you're doing a stone over bar for reps, how are you moving after you put the stone over the bar to then receive it to shave that, 0.2 of a second every rep? Like all of these little things matter, and you have to train more athletically. Even I think the problem is like when you start, for most people when they start, the focus is how do I get strong enough to do the stuff at all? I know this is how I was.
Yeah.
So like all those little things kind of don't matter. Being like, who cares if you don't have the conditioning to get the fourth keg if you're worried about completing the first one. So I had to train myself out of that once I was actually competing in the right weight class for my size and actually strong enough to do the stuff. I had to like retrain it, and it's why I didn't have as good a success as I feel I should have in a lot of things. And I feel people have that problem of, like it's okay, I need to get strong enough, and then it's very different training once you're trying to break that extra ground. Like get to that next level, like actually win nationals,
Yep.
Actually win your pro card, where you have to then, you can't leave any stone unturned.
But absolutely not. Like I agree with you 1,000%, man.
But
so how did you get there then? How did you
let's go way back.
How did you decide? Okay, yeah. How did you decide to train like this? I mean, I know, when we tried to talk about this the first time for the first attempt at the podcast, I talked about your MMA background a little bit. So did it all start there, or did it even start before then?
Well, it started before then. Like I guess I got my first weight set when I was like 13, and it was the typical weight set, like the concrete plastic weights. You know what I mean? And it was like a bench, and it had like a leg extension and a fly attachment on it. And so basically, I just benched like 6 days a week or something because I wanted to get big muscles because I grew up watching like He-Man and Ninja Turtles and Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Jean-Claude Van Damme. All those guys have muscles, right? So I was like, well, if you're going to be cool, you obviously need muscle. That's pretty standard. So at like 13, I started training. And then at 15, I went into high school where they allowed us to actually start lifting weights. And I had a good coach. We had a football coach who actually would make us squat, bench, or power clean. We could do anything we wanted afterwards in weight training class, but we had to hit one of those three on our 3 days a week or whatever we're hitting. You had to hit that first. So that kind of instilled in me like, oh, there's more important things than curls. You know what I mean? And then so I lifted very much like a bodybuilder, and to be completely honest with you, it didn't really work for me. Like higher reps, like 8, 10, 12, doesn't do a whole lot for my body. I don't really get much from that. So I lifted for a couple years, and not a whole lot happened, but I loved it, so it was fun. And then I got involved. At the time, I was doing martial arts. I was playing baseball, and I had a full ride scholarship at baseball, but on the side, I was also doing fighting. And at that time, this was probably like 98, so the Ultimate Fighting Championship had just come out probably a couple years before, and we got introduced to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at my martial arts school, and I was third-degree black belt. Like I was deep into that, like doing tournaments, doing fights, that kind of stuff, and started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that kind of turned me towards MMA. So in college, my focus was like on MMA and partying. But my training had to change because, again, it was a weight class sport, so you couldn't, adding more muscle, like I wanted to add more muscle because if you were doing stuff without your shirt on, you didn't want to look stupid. That was the most important thing. But then having more muscle just tired you out faster. So my training kind of changed to do more like, I would still be like benching all the time, but in between benching, I would go, run a sprint or do something else that kind of built up my conditioning threshold. And then after college, I became a personal trainer where I started working a couple different things. I actually started reading some websites. And at the time, T Nation was huge. So I was reading T Nation. It was massive.
That was the place to go.
100%. And so I read something by Chad Waterbury. And I know some people love him and some people hate him, but I read something by him, literally, we're talking like 12 years ago, called the Waterbury Summer Project, I think it was called, and he introduced giant sets and he flipped the rep scheme from 3 sets of 10 to 10 sets of 3. So I was doing like 100 pounds for 3 sets of 10, and now I was able to flip it and do another 30 total reps, except now I was doing 300 pounds for 3 reps of 10, still getting 30 total reps, and my body exploded. And again, it was giant sets, and it was just antagonistic muscle groups. That's where I started getting these ideas and stuff. And so I started training like that, and I never stopped. Like, my body responded to it, so I went with it. And then after being a personal trainer for a couple of years, I got recruited by the government to do some other stuff, which I can't really talk about. But so I was essentially away for the past decade, kind of doing that stuff. But we always had to take PT tests. We had to be able to fight. We had to do a bunch of things. And so the training couldn't really revolve around just being really huge, because despite what everyone in the world believes, being really huge does not equate to being able to beat someone up. You know what I mean? People see big guys and they're like, I wouldn't want to fight him. I'm like, I would love to fight that guy. That guy can't move. You know what I mean?
So you're calling out Brian Shaw.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. UFC 205, Brian Shaw and Brian Alsruhe.
That'd be awesome. I've met Brian. He's a super nice guy. But if we both make money off it, let's do it, Brian. So I'm actually good. I'm actually really good friends with Brian's wife. Anyway, so my training kind of changed like that. And then after I was gone for like 10 years, I decided that I wanted to be home. So I stopped doing that and opened my own gym where I get to do my own programming. And I started strongman about 2 years ago. But all my training, it was a really easy transition for me because I was already conditioned. I was already strong. All I had to do was learn the events, which I'm still learning. I'm still terrible at, in my opinion. But I'm learning, and that's why I'm kind of progressing faster than some people. And it's just because I have that base of all that conditioning and all of that. You know, now if I go to the gym and if I were to wait like 2 minutes between a set, I'd be bored out of my mind. I don't know what I'd do at that time.
You don't.
How fast do you do all of your training? Like, how long is the training session?
Usually about an hour 15, and that's with taping. So now taping for me during my training session is literally just tape the set, move the camera to the next position, finish out my round, do the next set, move the camera, do that, you know what I mean? But it takes me about an hour 15 to get everything done.
See, I've been trying, I get asked to film more of my training. I'm not doing anything like impressive at this point, in my opinion. So like it's all seems like less than where I was. So it's just like I'm bored of it myself. But for whatever reason, some people still want to watch it. Like I don't like how much of a pain is it to like just be cognizant of trying to tape and get the angle of your training and not just going in there and doing the work.
Well, for me personally, the way that I do my like training vlog parts is I tape an intro, then I do my workout, and then I tape an outro. Some people talk to the camera like between, you've seen that, or some people get like 1,000 angles so that they can do little edits with like music and stuff. Mm-hmm. Number one, I'm not that smart and not that good at editing, so I don't do that. So for me personally, the intro might take me, because it's going to take me like 15 takes to actually get out what I want to say. That might take me, 15, 20 minutes. And then the training itself, literally all that I'm doing is just taking different angles, which is literally like back 45 angle, side angle, back right 45 side, you know what I mean? So
sure.
For me, it's not a big deal, and I don't talk to the camera during. So some people are like, why don't you do like cool edits and stuff, blah, blah. I'm like, it takes me long enough already. I'm not interested.
It's so much
like,
work.
I'm not there yet. Yeah,
I see.
A lot.
Like, yeah, until you're like making all that slingshot money and you can hire someone to do it all for you, it's not worth it.
1,000%, man.
But yeah,
but even then, like, go ahead.
Yeah. We could go off and just talk about how much editing is annoying and stuff forever. But I want to get back into. So you have a pretty famous T Nation training log, and see this is one of the problems. We tried to record last week, and then I had some technical issues, which hopefully, if you hear this, they're all and if not, this has been an enjoyable conversation for at least myself, and I hope the three of us. But anyways,
me too, man.
Since then I'm like, oh, I do know who this guy, like, no offense, like, I do know who this guy is. Like, I'm like, I think I've seen him before, because we were kind of on T Nation and stuff at the same time, but you were cool and I wasn't yet. Like, everyone's like,
I was never cool, man.
dude, like, people, like, I remember, like, yeah, because I used to read your training logs on there, and it's like, it was kind of funny because there's like a mystique around it. Like, people are like, well, he's gone, and then there's just like all of these different stories of what you're actually doing, and then you're just going to keep that mystique going by saying, I just can't even talk about that stuff. So.
Yeah, and I really can't. I can't talk about it. I'm not even completely removed from it yet.
Sure.
So I'm still. So but yeah, I actually had my very, very first training log. The job found out about it, and they were like, "You need to get rid of that, or you're done." And so I contacted the powers that be at T Nation and was like, "You guys need to delete my log," and they were like, "I don't think the internet works that way." So they did their best. Like, you can still find bits and pieces of it, but yeah. So that first one got completely deleted. That just helped build the mystique. But really, I think people like those logs because I don't engage with like the negativity, because number one, I don't have time, and number two, I don't have the energy, and number three, I'm 36 years old. I'm a grown ass man. I don't need to be doing that. You know what I mean? And so whenever somebody, like, even now on my YouTube stuff, like, I answer every single comment unless it's negative, and I just don't feed those people. You know what I mean?
Did you answer every single one of them? Wow.
Every single comment. Right now.
Do you do that, Kale?
Oh, yeah.
That's tough.
No, I actually do.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think we're probably similar in this way, where it's like a weird thing where, like, for me, I remember just like, just being like, just lifting and enjoying lifting, and that anyone would ever care what I have to say or what I actually do was just like shocking to me. So I felt like I owe it, like, if someone's gonna take the time out of their day to say something back, because on the, like, being a fan on the other side, when no one answers, you're like, what the you kind of feel a little cheated.
Sure.
100%.
So that's kind of where I've always went through it, and I feel like that's how you actually connect with people. Like, you're never gonna gain people aren't gonna invest their time in what you do if you act like you're better than them.
Yeah.
You have to make it as personal as possible, and then it's like people are following along the story. Because I feel like when I started to actually get somewhat decent at strongman and had a little bit more notoriety than some of my peers or something, some of them felt like that was negative, but they don't understand that there was like years that went into that where I was not good, where I had like training logs since like 2005 or 6 on sites like T Nation. I've been recording my videos since like before I deadlifted 400 pounds, like, so people are like, holy crap.
Yeah.
So then then like that person, people are like, oh yeah, you're doing good. And then all this, then, you're like, one of the favorites to like win a national championship at something, even in like a sport that a lot of those people might perceive as like has a higher barrier to entry than it really does. They're already rooting for you.
Yeah.
Where I don't.
And I feel like people, with our sport, I feel like people don't have a really good, like, if you say I deadlift 500 pounds, most people have deadlifted like 300 pounds, so they have some frame of reference.
Mm-hmm.
When you say I deadlifted a car for 20 reps, people have no idea what that feels like until they've done it. You know what I mean? So there's not as big a frame of reference, and a lot of people will say on my channel, they'll be like, "Man, you're gonna crush it at nationals, blah blah." I'm like, you have no idea how deep this pool is.
Yeah.
Like, I would be ecstatic to break top 10. Like that's people that how good some of these guys are, and this is amateur level. You know what I mean? Like people are like, dude, why don't you go for like a world record? I'm like, because I'm not in the same universe as a world record. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It
Yeah. But why?
what the average person considers strong is just different than like what we would consider strong.
Yeah.
Do we know how many guys are going to go to the Arnold from nationals? Do we know that number?
Probably.
I think it's based off percentage. Yeah, it's based off percentage, like every year of whoever finishes top X amount of the class. So, man, that would be a dream too. I've always wanted, well, for 2 years now since I got into strongman, I've thought about going to the Arnold. I think that'd be awesome.
The Arnold's fun. I definitely. I remember the first time I qualified for the Arnold. I actually started crying, but.
I imagine you would, man. Like, it's a big deal. It's a huge accomplishment.
Dude, but like, I felt like I had, like, you get that same kind of talk. Like, this was the first year that they had the 175 division, and it was going to be at the Arnold. So it was like, at least in my own mind, hyped up. I put so much work into it. I go to I had a great year. Won, a couple, like, California Strongest Man, stuff like that. Big show stuff I've wanted to since I started in the sport. And then I was just like, personal life was just kind of unraveling, right? Like everything was just going wrong, and I did like 8 shows that year. So I showed up to nationals just beat up, which I've learned is not
That's
smart.
a lot.
Yeah, so it's like, I was doing really good in like February and March, and then when October comes around, when you've kept that up, you're like, it's just like your body's just not working. There's too many little things you haven't. But anyways, so it's like. And I just underperformed. I didn't have a good show, and the top 10 were going to go to nationals, and I was like, I think going into the last event, I was in like 11th or 9th, or, I was like on the bubble, and then so they're, you go to the awards banquet you've been doing before, that they go on forever, and you're sitting there, and they're like, all right, here's the people that are going to go to the Arnold, and they go through, they went. And I was like, if my name's not called, like, first thing, I'm fucked. Like, all this work I put in, it's just for nothing. And then they're like, first thing, they're like, Kalle Beck, 10th. I was like, I was just like, and like the whole time before that, I was just sitting there, and they're going through, and I'm just shaking and nervous, and my leg won't stop moving. And I go up, and I'm like, thank you, Dion, thank you, Dion. She's like, you're nuts. And I'm like, this means a lot to me. Like,
yeah.
But
and for people who are listening that have never been to that award banquet, when you're at nationals, you don't know where you finish. Like, you get done all the events, and they're like, okay, we'll see you guys in a couple hours. We'll figure this out.
Yeah.
And everyone is kind of like, I don't know. I don't know where I'm at. And then you should see the rush of people to that. They'll post all the scores on the board, like on the side of a wall somewhere. And during dinner, during the awards banquet, everyone's literally just looking around at the walls, like, have they put it up anywhere? What's going to happen? And then once they post it up, it's like there's 3, McDonald's or something. Like, everyone just rushes right to that spot. It's a different experience.
Yeah, it's definitely different than, a local show or something. And then how close it was is I tied for 10th and won on a count back from winning an event. So it's like,
wow, that's outstanding, man.
Yeah, I couldn't get any closer, but yeah, that's like those memories are awesome, and I hope you have all the success at nationals and all that. But I think a lot of people they're interested. So you started doing like these giant sets and doing all of this in between, like just you're concentrating your volume. So there's like a lot of I think a term for it's like density training in there. Like you're doing a lot in a short time. So
yeah,
like if I'm out of shape right now and 3 sets of 10 with 5 minutes rest, is hard for me to get through. How do you suggest someone start to build up that work capacity? Because this is you've built this up over decades basically. Like I think people don't understand. They can't just jump in and do something like that. How do you suggest like someone start that went from a basic 5x5 or bodybuilding template to start kind of training more? your style?
Well, I typically tell people to throw in some sort of finisher at the end of their workout to start out. So you do your normal strength training and everything, but then you allot, 10, 15 minutes at the end for something that's super hard. And super hard isn't like jogging on a treadmill. That's not a finisher. Finisher is something where like in minute 2, you're like, it's got to be almost over. And then at like minute 5, you're like, I'm only halfway. Like, what's wrong? It's got to be like super hard. And I always use a clock because the clock doesn't lie to you. If you listen to your body, you're never going to get better. You know what I mean? Like, if you always wait until you're ready before you start something, you're never going to start. Or if you do, it's going to be too late. So I will throw something on a clock. So at the average person does like a 5x5 type of lifting, and then they add 10 minutes where they go at the top rate minute for 10 minutes. At the end, they do 3 log clean and presses. You know what I mean? At top rate minute with like 6% of your weight or something light. And for anyone who's never done something like that, 10 minutes of 3 log clean and presses at top rate minute for 10 minutes will destroy you, right? So I typically tell people to do something like a 10-minute, or even if you don't want to use any implements or weights, go body weight. So at top rate minute, do like 5 burpees, 5 push-ups, 5 air squats, and then take 3 minutes rest. The harder you work, the more rest you get. If you dog it, you get less rest, and you're just going to be moving constantly. So just throw something like that toward the end, and then once you get kind of conditioned to that, it doesn't seem so bad. Then start trying to like lump your strength stuff together so that you get more work done in that time. And the way that I do that is using the antagonistic muscle groups. So if we take something like bench, I will do rows prior to bench because I feel that my shoulders get in a better position, like synovial fluid, and they're just better off and safer if I do my pulling motions first. So I'll do rows to bench to an ab movement. And that ab movement, although I don't really believe that like doing like leg raises is going to drastically up my deadlift, it does program in rest, and I'm still moving, and I am still working those things. So my main strength, I hit the rows, I hit the bench, and then while I'm doing my abs, I've already started recovering. And then if I take a minute rest or 90 seconds rest or 30 seconds rest, whatever it might be, that's the amount of time where I change weights on the bar, get a sip of water, and then I'm right back after. And if you start doing that, then eventually, that might take a couple weeks, like 3-4 weeks before that doesn't seem hard anymore. And then once that happens, then you start adding like some explosive warm-up stuff prior to your actual strength work that kind of primes those muscles. So for like squats, doing something like swings or throws or jumps, something that gets your body moving explosively. I am a huge fan of like animal walks because they make you look absolutely ridiculous. However, they build total body coordination. You become more athletic, and there's not one muscle in your body that doesn't work if you're doing like bear walks and gator walks and burpee broad jumps and stuff like that. And it primes your central nervous system and those muscles for moving quickly, because a lot of people, when they do the warm-ups, move the bar slowly because they're kind of eking into it and they're getting the cracks out and stuff like that. But if you start out slow, you're teaching your body to move slowly. So when things get bad, and you guys know as well as I do, like you can do a lot with 100 pounds that you can't with 300 pounds, and you can do a ton of stuff with 300 pounds that you can't do with 500 pounds. So basically, if it's primed and you start your workup sets and you're moving quickly, then you're teaching your body, it's like a puppy. You're just training it to do the things that you want it to do. So when it gets heavy and your brain goes out the window and all you can think about is how heavy it is, your body reacts to what it's been taught over the last hour as opposed to your feelings about how the set's going or what the weight feels like and things like that.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it might take people 6 months to get there, but once you're there, I mean, most people spend 2.5 hours at the gym. An hour and a half of that is talking to friends or talking on the phone or just wasting time. And I know you guys know, but when you start getting truly busy, you don't have 2.5 hours to like spend talking to friends anymore. That becomes very selective. Like your time becomes your most important commodity because it's the only thing you can't get more of.
100%. Yeah, like I make sure now to make sure I actually get my training in. I don't train. It's not longer than 45 minutes. I just don't have the time for it. So even if that means that if I'm being lazy and I only hit like one main movement, then that's what I did that day,
Absolutely.
But
yeah, you're 100% present for that movement. You're there doing it. You're not like doing that movement and then you're thinking like, oh man, well, what am I going to eat later? You know what I mean? Like you are 100% involved in your training.
I should be, but the reality is not always that. I found...
Don't make me look stupid here, man. Don't make me look stupid.
That's how it should be. And when I have good sessions, that's how it is. But it's, man, I just have that problem where if I'm not training for something, it's hard to get that same fire as when you are,
I can tell when Kale's going to have a good session when he texts me a couple hours before and he says, I'm going for this today. And I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
I'm like, he'll do it. Like when you went to pull, when you pulled what, 495 for 3?
Yeah.
That was a couple weeks ago?
That was last week?
Was like an all-time PR without a suit on, right? Or at least very close?
It's close. It's not.
Yeah.
I think I've done like 5:15 for 5, or I don't remember. It might have been
without
touch and go, but regardless, it's the strongest I've felt in a long time. And basically, like my deadlift's been screwed up since 2012, even when I was strong and stuff. But yeah, it's feeling good. But yeah, that's pretty much all I did that time, because it's once you're coming back, it's hard to recover when you haven't been lifting heavy like that. Your body's not used to it. But also since then, I've done almost nothing. So that was like 2 weeks ago. It's because it's like, okay, that's a goal, I want to do it. But man, it's just when you have like you seem like a very motivated person, Brian. And it when you're this far to nationals, and you're like, I can tell, like you really want to prove yourself. And that's the best time. That's when training's awesome. Like when you're at that point. And being realistic with what to expect is also good. It's just good as well. So just enjoy it. And it's fun. But yeah, it's hard when you're. But I found the same thing where that's kind of how I do some of my training now. Is I am like less like the results don't matter so much. I'm not training for anything. So I experiment with stuff like that. So I'm like right now would be the time where, I start kind of training more like that and seeing how, doing an experiment, see how it works. Because, my focus is I want to provide a good value to my clients, and I can't just tell them to do something because I read some article or whatever, or, read some paper and it said, this had this effect. You have to see if it actually works, and the best thing to do is to do that on yourself. And I've been programming in a lot of priming movements, like you say. So like they'll do, like from what I found with myself, in order to have a good deadlift session, I need to make sure that my hamstrings and my glutes are actually engaging. And with how most people are sedentary and they're sitting down. I'm sitting down right now. That gets harder and harder to do. So if I do some stuff like some single leg dumbbell RDLs, a couple sets of walking lunges, one leg glute bridges, stuff like that, I found that then I have good deadlift sessions because I'm already warm before I go to pull. And then you're already
everything's activated.
Mm-hmm. And it also helps with just those imbalances. So it's the same kind of philosophy. It's just might be a little different movements and stuff. But I found that's one of the main differences I put in my own training in like the last 6 months, which has allowed me to get my deadlift back up to a point where it's actually improving again, instead of just where I'm not just things aren't just keep going wrong. And something that I feel if I would have put in earlier in my career, I wouldn't have had the same kind of injuries I did, because in the end, you're kind of just being lazy. If you just go in and you start deadlifting, in my opinion, you're being lazy. Like there's so much more that goes into this than, just hitting deadlift, squat, overhead press, etc. Like, And the proper programming is having everything so it's balanced, so you don't get these imbalances, which then, your body is going to, it's going to go the path of least resistance. So you need to make sure that, everything's balanced and you're able to stay in stable positions, because when we're putting it under tremendous load, there's a lot that can go wrong if there's something gets compromised.
And if one thing goes wrong, you can be down for a while.
Well, yeah, and it also, they start to add up. So like, let's say like my neck's really tight on my left side. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with my neck. That could be that there's something wrong with my bicep. It's just like
Absolutely.
That's what I've learned, but from talking to people a lot smarter than myself, is that everything is connected. So if you don't have everything constantly working in harmony with each other, and it's like this hurts and this hurts, and people are like, I don't know why my bicep just blew out, and then you ask, and they've been having where they've been having neck pain for the last 3 months, then it's just everything's connected. I don't really know where else I'm going with that. But it's just you have to. So a lot of these movements, like how I kind of look at as accessory work, is kind of like bulletproofing yourself in a way. You're working all of the other different muscle groups that go with that movement, not always to get them stronger, but to keep them balanced so you don't get hurt, so you can keep getting stronger.
Absolutely. I totally agree
Brian,
with that,
not to get too philosophical on you, but your sign off at the end of your videos, kind of how did you come up with that? Because I really like that when you're like, go do something awesome with your lives, be nice to people. Does that kind of relate back to just how you, I don't know, I guess just how you live your life, or what is it all about?
Yeah, to be completely honest, that was completely organic. Like, I didn't know how I was going to sign off my videos, and one day that just kind of happened. And then the next time I tried to sign off a video, I couldn't think of anything better, so I went with it again, and it kind of went from there. But I am a massive believer. Like my gym's name is Never Sate Athletics, and like never satiated. And I truly believe in the pursuit of constant and never-ending improvement, not only physically, but like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, like everything needs to be balanced. And I just think if people actually thought about the fact that you are in fact going to die one day, and that day could be tomorrow, or that day could be 80 years from now, like you are going to die. So you have a limited number of hours, you have a limited number of days, a limited number of experiences. And if you are not taking full advantage of that, there's going to be one day that you're going to look back and be like, wow, I can't believe I wasted so much time on blank. You know what I mean? Like watching TV. Like, yeah, I might know every actor's name in The Walking Dead, but did I ever do anything where I really challenged myself? Did I, like going back to what you said about the medleys and things, one of the biggest reasons why I do that is because it just builds mental toughness. You know what I mean? And if you learn how to get comfortable being uncomfortable, you can pretty much write your ticket in life. Like, people do not like to be uncomfortable, and if you can get okay with it, and you don't need to be happy about it, but I really think working those things, you can build your mind just like you can build any other muscle. And if you're not working it, then it's just getting weaker. So when I say, like, go out and do something amazing with your lives, something amazing might be pushing past a preconceived limit that you had during that finisher that I talked about after the 5x5, or it might be, starting a new career, or just having the courage to go out and do something great. And then be nice to each other just comes from, like, there's so much hate on the internet, and it's just such little, like, bickering, horrible stuff. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, why are you taking the time and the energy to tear someone else down, rather than, if you don't like it, you can exit the box. You know what I mean? You can click X and this experience can be over for you. Like, but you actually took the time to like rip someone down. Like, what is so unhappy in your life that you need to do that? What do you get out of doing that? But there's some people who just, want to act like that. So I try to encourage people, just be nice to each other, hold the door for each other. say please, thank you, tip your waiters and waitresses, like all those things. I really think the world would just be a better place if people just took like 2 seconds to be a little extra nicer to each other. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, it's well said. I feel like continuing this, I'm going to screw up a great send off, but I just have more questions for you though.
Sure, man.
All right. So what I want to get into is more just, I want people to know they can. It's never say, that's never SATE.com. That follow. That's your gym. That's your YouTube channel. That's across all social media. Or that.
My YouTube channel is Brian Alsruhe.
Okay.
So my website is neversate.com, neversate.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then Brian Alsruhe is Brian, BrianAlsruhe. It's amazing for SEO stuff because if you search Brian Alls, my name will pop.
Nice.
However, and same with Neversate. It's not a real word. You know what I mean? It's a made up word. So great for SEO, terrible for people to find me. So
yeah, I've found the same thing by I feel Kale's not the most I feel that really helped me gain traction because then people remember, where you need that where like how many mics are there, like there's a lot, so people don't.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot of mics.
Yeah, no offense, Mike, I remember, but it's
come
like
on. No, Mike is Colonel Strength. So there's
yes.
no Mike to me.
Yeah, which helps. But,
true.
Yeah, that, and of course, that was the whole idea, because I can't tell you how many websites I have developed before I made Starting Strongman. Like, I've always had this idea, and I was thinking like that, like, if I want to get people that are coming into the sport, what are they most likely going to Google? They're going to go, like, how do I start Strongman? Starting in, like that.
Starting Strongman.
And
there you go.
It actually works really well. The SEO works pretty damn good. So
yeah,
that's boring stuff though. So what I want to talk about is like what I know. This is the kind of stuff like when you're trying to like build some sort of business out of nothing. This is the kind of thing like you and I can talk about all day because it's all you end up thinking about. I know, like, for me, I think, like, silly little things like that, like, how do I get people to find this? But, so, you get done doing whatever secret stuff that secret people do, you come back, you're, now, living in Maryland, you want to start a gym. How did that start, and what are your plans for it? And, you're like, okay, I want to make YouTube videos, that'll be easy money. You're like, shit, that's not easy money. So, like, how did that start, and what are you looking to do going forward?
So I guess to get into the gym conversation, I need to get into the how I got the strongman conversation. And so I went to high school with Mike Jenkins, right? Like we went to the same high school, we lifted together, and then we both went away to college. And when we both came back, we were personal trainers at the same gym. So we would train together, and we were good friends, and he started getting into strongman, and this is back in like 2000, probably like 4, around kind of time. Yeah. And so he brings in some implements into the gym, and it's like a log and an axle, and he's doing stuff, and he's like, Brian, come here, try this. So I like messed around, just like kind of touched on, was like, that's cool, man. I'm into fighting. I'm not into it. And he went and did like his first couple strongman shows, came back, was having success, obviously, because he's Mike. And he was like, you should come do strongman. And I was like, Mike, I don't want to be 400 pounds. Like, I don't want to do strongman. And he's like, there's weight classes. And I'm like, I'm into this fighting thing. I don't want to play. So he went on, kept doing his success, and then he ended up moving up to Hershey, PA. And I continued on my fighting stuff and then went away, right? Mm-hmm. So when I got back in town, actually I was back in town and was kind of in and out, but still a lot, was just in and out of town a lot. And Mike's very first sponsor, who was a client at that gym that we were both personal trainers at, got in contact with me and was like, hey man, if you ever want to do a show, I'll sponsor you. And I was like, I don't know you. What's going on here?
What a nice guy.
And he's like, well, I've seen some. Yeah, he's seriously now one of my best friends in the world. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. And he was like, if you want to try it, I've seen your YouTube videos. Like, you're going to do really well. I have a feeling on these things. So if you want to do it, he's like, we'll do it. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I feel like competing, whatever. And then I was not training strongman. I was lifting and lifting how I lift normally with giant sets and the condition and everything, just there was no strongman. And so he was like, well, I'm going to invite you to my Christmas party. He owns a company and he has a big Christmas party. He invites tons of people. It's a great time. And so he was like, I'm going to invite you to my Christmas party. Mike will be there. You can talk to him. You guys can catch back up. It'll be great. He'll talk you into it. We'll make this happen. And I was like, okay, I'll come to the Christmas party, right? So that Thanksgiving morning, we got the call that Mike had died. So rather than going to the Christmas party, we went to Mike's funeral. And so I obviously when you're at someone's funeral, you're thinking back of all the times and everything. And I had always been promising Mike, like, yeah, man, I'll do a show. Just let me do my thing right now. Like, I'll do a show. Mm-hmm. And I never did, but I always told him that I would. So when I'm sitting like in the church there, and all kinds of people flew in for Mike's funeral. So we're in this little tiny town in Carroll County, Maryland, which is a nothing town, you know what I mean? But it's where Mike grew up. And so we're there, and like all the biggest names of strongman are there. And I watched strongman as little as it came on like TV at like Christmas time and stuff like that. But I didn't know a lot of names, but I was like the smallest guy in the room, and I was like, it's a rare room when I'm the smallest guy in the room. And all the guys were super nice. Everyone was really cool, but everyone had like this intensity about them. You know what I mean? Just like quiet intensity. And I was like, maybe this is something I could get into, you know? And so while I was sitting in the church listening to that same coach, the same strength coach from our high school who told us to like squat, bench, and power clean before everything, he gave the eulogy at Mike's viewing. So while I'm sitting there, I'm like, I always told Mike that I'd do it. I'm going to sign up and just do one so that I keep my word. Mike was an amazing human being. And as a friend, I want to keep my word. So I literally, like the next week, signed up for my first strongman competition. And yeah, I had like 2 months to get ready for it. And I still had not really touched anything, hadn't played with anything. So the week prior to my competition, I went up to Mike's old gym that he owned in Hershey, and his wife Carrie, who is now Brian Shaw's wife, Carrie. That's how we're friends. Yeah. She showed me how to like clean the logs. She showed me how to like do atlas stones and stuff like that. So then the next week, I went to my first competition. I won it, and that qualified me for nationals. And I went to nationals and got my face bashed in. So that's how I got involved in strongman. So this was not like something where I was like, oh, I should do that, but it just kind of happened, you know. But anyway, so I'm in and out of town for my old job, and I'm like, you know, I'm tired of someone telling me where I need to be 24 hours a day, having my phone on me 24 hours a day, and if somebody calls me at drop a hat, I need to leave, and I'm going somewhere else, another country, I'm going somewhere else, right? I like being home for Christmas. I like all these things. How can I do this? What are my skills? And I have a college degree, but really every single skill that I have has to do with either picking up heavy things or hurting people. You know what I mean? So I was like, what normal job am I really qualified for? And there wasn't a lot, so I was like, start your own business. So I ended up opening a gym, and I wanted to run it the way that I wanted to run it and have access to the things that I would like to see at a gym. Because you guys know growing up, when you were going to the gym, you go to like a Gold's, and like you wanted the Gold's from like the Arnold pumping iron days, where it was just like a bunch of meatheads like lifting heavy things. That's what you wanted, you know what I mean?
Yeah, not the
current. And I was like, I'm going to start my own gym, not the current one, right? And so I built it. I built my own gym, and the way that it runs, I run classes. So it's similar to like a CrossFit type of fashion in that you run classes where you're teaching kind of the skills, except I'm teaching strongman, and then they have a conditioning to a strength portion, and then we do some type of strongman thing, which is typically some sort of contest. And there's some people who are national level strongman, and there's some people who are literally just walked off the street and they were like, I want to get in shape, I'll try this. And they're all working together, and everyone's super cool. And since I make the rules, like if people are negative or somebody's like a jerk, I throw them out because it's my gym, and I can do that. You know what I mean? So it's a super positive place, and right now it's going pretty well. I mean, it's pretty stable, as stable as the gym business is. For anyone who wants to get involved in gym business, like you don't make money and you work a lot, but you'll find some of the most like rewarding times of your life will come. So I actually started doing YouTube videos because I was like, well, other people are doing this and it'd be a great like residual income. So I started doing it for that reason, and because I felt like I had something to say, and I look at things differently, I train differently. So I thought I'd start my own thing, so I did that, and that's kind of where we're at now. Now I'm just kind of feeling it out as I go, you know what I mean? I've only had the gym open for probably a little over 2 years now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had no idea that you had that connection with Jenkins. I remember that Thanksgiving, like it just, yeah, it was. I'm not even, I knew him. I just met him a couple times, and we had a couple conversations, and he was always so nice to me. But I didn't grow up with him or have any of that personal thing. But something Mike and I were talking about is recently, which this all ties in and wasn't planned, is Jesse Marunde, passed too soon as well, and on his anniversary, everyone does that. Everyone does 20 reps. It seems like it's kind of fallen off the past couple of years, but some people, they still do 20 rep squats because he was known for that.
Right.
Mike brought up the idea to have some sort of Mike Jenkins memorial workout on Thanksgiving to honor him, because I feel like we all feel like people should remember Mike for the kind of great person he was. But so if you have any idea on what to do with that, or talk to Carrie.
Should we Johnny Wasico?
Yeah, I talked to him.
Came
briefly.
Came up with this. Okay, so this is what Johnny came up with. Now, originally, I told Kale, let's do like a 20 rep log clean press. Well, he sent this to he reached out to Johnny Wasico.
I knew they trained
and
together.
mind you, I've scaled this. Okay, so I scaled it, and I'll run the numbers by you later. But the numbers that Johnny came up with were. It's 11/3/1982 and then 11/28/2013, and it breaks down to 11 bodyweight log presses, 3 double bodyweight deadlifts, a 1982 meter row, 11 half bodyweight dumbbell presses, 28 squats at bodyweight, and a 2013 meter run. And now the reason we do this on Thanksgiving is because generally everyone's home on Thanksgiving. You're going to have a surplus of calories, and this would be a brutal workout.
Johnny originally said like triple body weight and stuff.
So
that would be tough.
What do you think?
Dude, I love it. We do something at our gym because like Mike's brother trains at my gym and looks just like him, is built just like him.
Mm-hmm.
Started 4 years at Virginia. Like he's a monster. And so we do something every year. And ours, I actually like that better because of the dates. But ours was like, I think you put like 70% of your squat, like of your 1 rep max squat on the bar, and then you squatted for 3 minutes, just as many reps as you could in 3 minutes. And then you rested 3 minutes. Then you did as many as you could in 2 minutes, rested 2 minutes, as many as you could in 1 minute, and then rested 1 minute. And that is a puke-tastic time as well.
Oh, yeah. So I think that's something we definitely...
But yeah, man, I'd totally be down.
Yeah, we need to talk further about and get something going and try to do it. Because I feel it would be nice. I don't know how many people would do that full thing. So there might be like, hey, or also you could do like... I know Mike was big into like high rep sets of like log strict press and stuff, which you didn't see too many people doing before. So it could be something like that as another like little way for, but I like the idea of doing something brutal like that as well.
Yeah.
But,
you have to like remember somebody, you know what I mean?
yeah, I agree. So that's something we definitely talk about more in the future. I know Mike has to run. I took up a ton of your time, Brian. I really appreciate it. Again, I want people to know it's neversate.com. You got your YouTube channel. Just let everyone know where to follow you, and they can see how you do it. Nationals and all the helpful. You put out tons of helpful videos. So if anyone has any questions, just go subscribe on YouTube and look through all the playlists and everything.
Yes, sir. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, this was a blast. Thank you guys so much for having me. It was really cool.
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate it, Brian. Mike's at Chrono Strength.
Take care, man.
I'm at Starting Strongman. Mike has to go actually talk to people. And appreciate you guys coming on. Go on iTunes, give us a 5-star rating and review, and tell your friends about the show. And make sure to follow Brian at neversate.com and everywhere else.
Thank you, guys. You guys are awesome.
See?